What's going on today, guys? Walking Billboard here, and welcome back to an episode of WNN, your source for the music and music production news. Today we'll be talking about some new plugins, some free plugins, Spotify being very bad boys, but most importantly, Teenage Engineering's new sampler is broken. So you may remember in my last video, I talked about the new Teenage Engineering KO2 sampler and how it looked pretty sick. It has some pretty good features, it looks good, and the price point is pretty decent, especially for Teenage Engineering. People were actually shocked because of how low the price was, just for them specifically. Well, apparently the price point is starting to make sense now because there seems to be some issues with the fader on it. It's weird, it's almost as if this thing was engineered by a teenager. The first video I saw talking about this was from Decimal. He said that after using it for a bit, the fader was locked at 50% even though he was moving the fader up and down. He tried everything on the software side in order to fix it, including a hard reset. He made another video where he was actually able to fix it by opening it up and messing with it. Desoldering, resoldering, bending pins. Now this seems to be happening to quite a few people. If you check the comments on that video specifically, there's a lot of people saying this happened to them as well. I'm aware that I'm citing comments just from this video, but if you just look it up online, it is happening to some people. The theory that people are saying is that the force you need to apply in order to attach the plastic to the fader is causing it to break. Some people are also theorizing that it is a shipping issue, but it seems a lot more indicative of a build issue because of how many people it is happening to. So if you are buying one of these, do not attach the plastic to the fader. Just leave it metal. It's gonna look like it's broken, but it will actually work. Or if you absolutely have to attach it but have Hulk strength, get someone else to attach it. Interesting, they got Kenny Beats Body Double to promote it. In our next story, Vengeance Sound has released a new version of their plugin named Avenger 2. Yes, that Vengeance Sound, the one with the sample packs from 10 plus years ago. I didn't know they were still around either. They've added quite a bit in this version, including a spectral granular engine with 7 algorithms. They added a new factory library, drum loop and single loop modules, including a bunch of drum loops, ratchets for ARPs, whatever the fuck that means, allowing for intricate and dynamic pattern creation, parallel filtering, a new pitch quantizer, an ARP randomizer, random melody generation. Yeah, that's all the rage right now. Random melody generation that is totally unusable. Some of the new effects here are Quantum, spelled like a 2001 gamer tag, quad multi-tap delay module with 3 automatable effect slots for each delay. There's also bitrate, which I think you can guess what that does, as well as root reverb with 5 new reverb algorithms. It honestly seems like they really leveled this one up, so if you're interested in Avenger or Vengeance Sound for some reason, I would check that out. There's even more new features than what I listed here. In our next story, we might have the most American rap news of all time. So as you can see here, Twista raps Overnight Celebrity while someone shoots a gun to match the song's beat. How much do you guys think this guy practiced in order to do this? The only way I think this can get any more American would be if instead of there being a target range to the right side of the screen, would be if there was actually a school. It's gotta be the darkest joke I've ever made on this channel.
Going to hell.
I didn't say it's okay. In fact, I think they should stop gun violence. A recent class action lawsuit accused Universal Music Group of underpaying their artists $750 million, and it was rejected. It was filed earlier this year by the rap duo Black Sheep. They alleged that UMG struck an undisclosed sweetheart deal with Spotify in 2008, whereby Universal agreed to accept substantially lower royalty payments on artists' behalf in exchange for equity stake in Spotify. Where's the lie? They stated that UMG should have given their artists half of the stake in Spotify or the equivalent in monetary value, because they were essentially forcing all their artists to take lower royalty payments. This just sounds like facts so far. You could look this up. UMG responded to the filing saying that the lawsuit is patently false and absurd, and that they have a well-established track record of fighting for artist compensation. Okay, I feel like they only fight for artist compensation when it benefits both parties, but that's just bullshit. Major labels have a long track record of screwing over artists to make more money for themselves. UMG took a 5% stake in Spotify in 2008, which rose to 7% after the company acquired EMI. So the stake part is clearly true. Apparently, the judge rejected the lawsuit on several grounds. First, they took too long to file the suit, and that UMG's stake in Spotify doesn't meet the definition of net receipts on which it would owe royalties, as well as their contract gave UMG the right to negotiate royalty payments with Spotify. I'm not saying the judge got paid off, all I'm saying is that statement doesn't meet my definition of a good explanation. In our next story, Valhalla has released Supermassive 3.0, a big update for their free combo delay/reverb plugin. They've added two modes named Leo and Virgo. Leo is a super rich delay/reverb mode with a slow attack and very long decay. Virgo has a fast attack and mimics a stereo delay but changes when the density control is turned up. It can create a grainy delay that is enveloped with reverb. They've added presets for both modes as well. Quick guys, this is really important. The mixing desk used by the Beatles for Abbey Road is being auctioned this December. Used from 1968 to 1971, it was deconstructed after its studio life and its parts were given to a London school. The parts were thrown out but then salvaged by an engineer at the school, not because he thought it was valuable, but because he liked the look of the knobs. Right. Why does the explanation sound like a lie though? That's like when I bought my skateboard recently with a half-naked chick on it, and then my girlfriend was like, "What the fuck? Why did you buy that?" And I was like, "I like the aesthetic." "You mean there's a chick on this board? What?" The desk is a solid-state transistor-based console. It was restored with 70% of its original parts still on it, and it works once again. For my rich viewers here, the auction will start on December 14th, and it's estimated to sell for at least 7 figures. So maybe some of you teenage engineering stans could check that out. In our next story, Spotify will no longer be available in Uruguay after the country passed a law requiring equitable remuneration. In layman's terms, you need to pay everyone equally for the same shit. This is due to the new changes on Spotify coming next year that will require a 1,000 play threshold to be met in order to be paid for that song, which will be good for some artists, mainly mainstream artists, because they will make a lot of money. I mean, obviously there's gonna be underground artists that make money off this too, but it's gonna be bad for over 2/3 of artists on Spotify. It was confirmed that the company would phase out its platform in Uruguay from January 1st, 2024 and cease operations fully by February. Changes that could force Spotify to pay twice for the same music would make our business of connecting artists and fans unsustainable, and regrettably leaves us no choice but to stop being available in Uruguay. Damn, that's a weird way to say we let major labels stick their hands up our ass and control us like puppets. Spotify has cited the law's ambiguity as its reason for ceasing operations in Uruguay. Spotify already pays nearly 70% of every dollar it generates from music to the record labels and publishers that own the rights for music and represent and pay artists and songwriters. Any additional payments would make our business untenable. Now, don't let them confuse you here. The only reason they are saying they would have to make an extra payment is because they are paying all that money that would have gone to these people to fewer people. So basically, the people who get their songs played the most make more money, and the people who do not meet the threshold get nothing. They would only be making an extra payment because their policy is making it so they only pay 30% of the people that upload to the platform. It's rather telling that a law about equal pay is being responded to with "that's not sustainable." Anyway, another day, another time to say fuck Spotify. If you need more information on why Spotify is the devil, I will link a playlist down below where I talk about all the new Spotify changes. Another day, another set of new plugins. Anyway, so EVENTIDE released DEBOOM and SHEEN Machine. Both of these plugins use the same structural split technology that Fission and Split EQ use. These are definitely one-trick pony type plugins, but I'll explain what they do. DEBOOM is to help solve low-frequency EQ problems such as muddiness within primarily low-frequency sound sources such as kicks, bass, and etc. DEBOOM is supposed to be superior to a regular EQ because it EQs the tonal portion separately from the transient, so it can fix the muddiness without affecting the impact of it. Keep in mind, this is not the only plugin able to do this. Essentially, anything that can split the transient and the tonal portion will be able to do the same. SHEEN Machine does something similar but in the complete opposite direction. They claim it adds a smooth and airy high end to sources without bringing high frequency harshness that you get with the high shelf EQ. Once again, offering control between tonal and transient layers. I like how they say here that this solves complex problems that you get when introducing SHEEN to a signal. Then they go on to explain the problem in 2 sentences immediately after. Both of these plugins are $25 each until December 31st, normally $49 each. Really quickly here, I want to share a great quote from Pink Pantheress. "We only stick to one verse," she says. "I don't do second verses. That's ridiculous." She has a point there. Second verses are ridiculous. That's too much work. In our last story here, I have a couple of free plugins here for you that look sort of interesting. I haven't had time to sit down and use them because it's Thanksgiving weekend. Lo-Fi Oddity is a tool for sonic damage and experiments. It has effects from Sketch Cassette, Digitalis, Shapeshifter, and more. Those are all their plugins also, by the way. But basically, it's just one of those plugins that combines a little bit of all their plugins, maybe a little more. Okay, this next one might be a little bit controversial. Another free saturation plugin. Boo.
We don't need more of those.
Yeah, you're probably right. We don't. It might be decent decent though, since it is from Slate Digital, though there's another catch, sadly. It requires iLok. And I know how much everyone loves iLok. They don't. And to make it even worse, the default option on their website, or the first thing it suggests to you, is to use their companion program to download it. But if you scroll down a bit, you can download just an installer for it. I like how these companies will do you a favor by releasing a free plugin like this, but then make it use something like iLok. No one likes iLok. It's a one knob sort of saturation plugin that they say will add grit and aggressiveness, utilizing saturation, EQ, and compression. So it seems to do just a little bit more than saturation. Apparently all the pros love this plugin, but pros love every plugin apparently. So you may remember in a recent episode of WNN, I talked about how Waves was giving away a free plugin for Black Friday, and I asked you guys to guess what it was. My guess was that it was like a Soothe alternative, and I gotta say, it was pretty fucking close, man. It is a smart EQ and dynamics processor. It is supposed to help you get your vocals from raw to pro. Yeah, completely groundbreaking stuff. Promises to automatically detect resonances across 2,000 analysis bands. Ooh, I fucking nailed it, man. I fucking nailed it. Control over the process, and normally it is $79, but it is free right now. But this deal will only last the rest of the weekend, so by the time I post this, you probably have until tonight. If you press the like button on this video, I will change out the battery pack on my camera. I'll see you guys next time.
Bang Incorporated.